Here's what's happening in this space right now. We're almost at a much bigger break. We're not just talking about $100,000 0 cents in Bitcoin. I'm talking about money worth more than $150 0 cents just for Bitcoin. If you think this could be the month when everything changes, I'll explain it, whether that's Twitter, Instagram. It's beneficial solely for Bitcoin. As we approach 150,000 or more, Bitcoin's dominance will inevitably decline, ushering in one of the most massive alt seasons in crypto history. With that said, I'd like to introduce myself to everyone here. My name is Nick. If you're new here, you'll probably subscribe by the end of the movie. And while you're at it, why not sign up for the free Discord server? That's listed below that Discord. You'll find a plethora of brilliant ideas. If you'd like to receive updates and tips on a weekly basis, you can join the paid side. I post 2 reports every week, so if you're interested in checking that out, feel free to do so. All right, enough with that. Now let's discuss the green ocean of great gains across the board. Here's what the week looks like. With a touch of red from this viewpoint, with Bitcoin's recent breakout, the main issue is whether the cryptocurrency will continue to rise in value. At the moment, Bitcoin is valued around $93,000, 93 cents, and we made around $94 0 cents. That's fine though. 50K. Okay, it turns out that I did predict this would fall from that level. I'll show you a price chart to explain why. Anyway, if we examine the candles, we're starting to have a small sale, and everyone is going to freak out. However, if you zoom out, it's not that bad. And this was only a small move so far. Looks at XRP and wonders why it hasn't moved from its current $2.17 price point. I've previously discussed the interconnected nature of Bitcoin and its immense power at its current price point. Of course, many older coins won't fare well. And the main reason for this is that when compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin, you can observe that they haven't altered much since approximately the summer of 2023. However, they did have a little increase going from 28.7% in mid-November to 33.1% in December. It was this rise that caused XRP to swing from less. Imagine if the other participants achieved 50%, which I think they will. In fact, I think they will hit more than 50% this cycle. And I'll discuss that in a bit. And how it went from less than 5 to over 30. It seemed like that tiny change was the most important factor determining the strength of altcoins. In the past, we can look at years like 2017 and 2018 and see that they had 53.1%. In 2021, around May, they had 37.2 to 41.1%. And by November, it had risen to 44.6%. Today, there are a lot more older coins here now, and I believe XRP will steal a lot of thunder from Bitcoin and Ethereum this cycle. This is November 2022, not November 2021, because if we look back to that month, it was only about 40%. At one point, it was about 41.5%, give or take. Since I believe XRP has a good chance of surpassing Ethereum this cycle, which sounds insane to me. I don't mind if other utility-based projects in the space, such as HAR, XLM, QNT, Algo, and others, achieve market dominance. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I think it's safe to say that it will be ranging from 35% to 50%, which is still a significant increase from our current position. We did reach approximately 31.3 to 33.1 DG. However, an additional 10% increase in that rate would cause many of these older coins to be worth 5 to 10 times as much as they are now. At the lower end of the market cap spectrum, it can reach 30 to 50 times. I think we will range a bit on this once we flip, hold, and then break to the top. The next time we see XRP on this chart where both the lows and highs are higher. We had a small attempt to break out to the upside, but it failed when we tried to flip a big support zone. At this level, which is about 220 or 7 cents, I'm sorry. And as this is a lesser time frame trade, our primary focus is on the immediate upward aim, which amounts to approximately $245.00 to $2.57 or $58.00. Our next major objective is to achieve larger highs and lows within this time frame. First, we need to break these highs. Second, we need to break these highs. And lastly, we need to break this Bitcoin cycle high. We'll get there now. Aside from XRP, if we can break out here, there are a few things that could definitely cause Bitcoin to take off in a big way. Most of the time, when we talk about May, we mean what the Fed is going to do. I believe it all begins with this. So I read a great post on X that was based on a bar chart. Since Bitcoin is the most important thing, I've been focusing on it a lot more. In my previous post, I mentioned that if past events are any indication, this could be a highly beneficial development for the cryptocurrency market. They shared information that caused US banks to collapse for the first time since March 2023. We don't know if this will lead to bank failures again or not, but if banks sell off their assets in a significant manner, once again, I believe it would be extremely beneficial. I recall everyone telling me to wait until Monday was open when the bank failure started on March 10th. 2023, and they continued all the way through May. On the same day, Bitcoin hit its lowest point. This is the Bitcoin light for when Bitcoin's value drops significantly, dude. On Monday, we had a 15% increase from the start of the bank crash to the end of the Sunday candle. By Monday's end, the price had risen 26% from its low point, and it continued to rise throughout 2023. Peaking at the beginning of April before beginning to fall again as summer drew near. We then bounced back in June and remained in this broad sideways trend as we awaiting an event. October and November saw discussions of exchange traded funds, ETFs, and then the pumping started again. Looking back, it's clear that the failure of banks, specifically those in the financial sector between March and May, was the driving force behind the entire movement. In light of current thinking about Bitcoin, I do think that banks could have avoided collapse or shutdown if they had lost value. Instead, if Silicon Valley Bank's Signature and First Republic Bank were to become bearish, all it would take to send Bitcoin soaring even higher. But do we really think that this is the sole factor that can propel Bitcoin to new heights? No, because at the moment, I see Bitcoin's movement as extremely bullish. Oh, Bitcoin's so down. Where can we see that as a common response? There is a reasonable value differential between 88,000 and 9100 Bitcoin because we have made greater lows and higher highs on the lower periods so far, indicating that the current setup is quite powerful. If we can maintain above 90,000 and avoid these lower end targets, I would be very grateful.